A dying widow saves a father and child, not knowing he was a millionaire. Snow lay heavy on broken roads and forgotten fields, covering old bones and older regrets. Few people traveled this far anymore. The kingdoms had shifted their borders long ago, leaving this land to rot between maps. Only those with nowhere else to go remained. Elira lived there. She was a widow, thin as winter light, her breath often shallow, her steps slow. The sickness inside her had no name that mattered. It had lived with her for years, growing deeper after her husband died in the King's War. Some said grief weakened the body. Others whispered curses. Elira did not care. She woke each morning thankful she still could. Her cottage stood near the edge of a dead forest, built from stone, older than memory. Smoke rose from its chimney only when she had enough strength to light the fire. Most days she survived on silence and habit. That night, the snow fell harder than usual. Elira had been gathering firewood before darkness fully claimed the sky. Her hands trembled as she bent to lift the final bundle. Pain moved through her chest like slow ice. She paused, pressing a hand against her heart, waiting for the wave to pass. That was when she heard it. A sound. Faint. Not wind. Not animal. A child's cry. Elira froze. No one traveled this road in winter, especially not with a child. The sound came again, weak, broken, carried by the wind. Against her body's warning, Elira turned toward the ruined road beyond the trees. Each step sent pain through her legs, but she kept moving. Near the broken stone markers, she saw them. A man lay half buried in snow, blood dark against white. His coat was torn, marked with symbols she did not recognize. One arm was wrapped around a small child, shielding him even in unconsciousness. The child still breathed. Elira dropped the wood and ran. The man's face was pale but strong, marked by long hardship and quiet command. Even wounded, there was something dangerous about him. His hand twitched near a hidden blade. Elira noticed and stopped, raising her empty hands. "I am not here to harm you," she said softly, though she was unsure he could hear. The child's eyes fluttered open. They were bright, too bright for a winter night. He stared at Elira without fear. "She is light," the boy whispered. Then he fainted. Elira's breath caught. She knelt, checking their wounds with careful hands. The man had been struck by something sharp and something darker. The air around him felt wrong, heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Elira had seen this before. Not in people, but in places where old magic had been disturbed. She should have left them. Every lesson of survival told her to walk away. She was sick, weak, alone. Winter did not forgive kindness. But she remembered her husband's last night, how strangers had passed him on the road. How no one had stopped. Elira made her choice. With effort that stole her breath, she dragged them toward her cottage, inch by inch, prayer by prayer. By the time she reached her door, her vision blurred and her chest burned like fire. Inside, she laid them near the hearth and lit the fire with shaking hands. She cleaned the man's wounds, ignoring the strange marks that pulsed faintly under his skin. She used herbs forbidden by the church, passed down by women whose names were never written. The child woke briefly. "Will you leave us?" he asked. "No," Elira said. "Not tonight." The boy smiled and slept. Hours passed. The storm outside howled like something alive. Elira sat by the fire, watching their breaths rise and fall. Each moment drained her strength, but she felt something else, too. Warmth, purpose. A quiet pull she did not understand. Near dawn, the man opened his eyes. They were sharp, dark, and full of pain. "Where?" he began, then tried to rise. "Do not," Elira said gently. "Your body is not ready." He studied her, confused. "Why did you help us?" Elira considered the question. "Because you were dying." The man laughed softly, then coughed. "That is usually not reason enough." Then maybe I am foolish, she said.
He watched her longer, something unreadable passing through his face.
My name is Kalen,
he said at last.
Elira!
Silence stretched between them. Outside, the storm began to fade. Kalen's gaze moved around the cottage, taking in the simple life, the lack of luxury. His voice was careful when he spoke again.
You do not know who I am.
Elira shook her head.
I do not need to.
Something tightened in his expression.
Relief or fear?
The child stirred and reached for Elira's hand. She held it without thinking.
Kylan saw this, and something in him shifted. Unknown to Elira, far beyond the forest, forces had begun to move. Old contracts stirred.
Ancient eyes opened, and deep within Kalen's bloodline curse, something awakened, not to him, but to the dying widow who had chosen mercy. As Elira finally allowed herself to rest, pain heavy in her chest, the fire flared unnaturally bright. Kalen felt it. The curse was reacting. Light crept through the small window of Elira's cottage, resting on stone walls in the low burning fire. Outside, the storm had passed, leaving the world silent and white. Snow covered every path, erasing signs of struggle from the night before. Elira woke with pain heavy in her chest. She sat up carefully, waiting for the tightness to ease. Some mornings were worse than others. Today felt sharper. Still, she rose, pulled on her shawl, and moved toward the hearth. The man and child still slept where she had laid them. Kalen's face was calmer now, though lines of worry remained even in rest. The strange marks on his skin had faded, but not fully.
Elira sensed they were not gone, only waiting. The child stirred first.
He sat up quietly, rubbing his eyes. When he saw Elira, he smiled.
You stayed, he said.
Yes, she replied, placing a cup of warm water beside him.
How do you feel? Better, he said, then frowned. But the dark is still near.
Elira paused. What dark? The boy pointed to his chest, then to the forest beyond the window.
It follows him.
Children sometimes spoke truths wrapped in dreams. Kalen woke soon after, struggling to sit. Elira moved to help him, but he shook his head.
I can manage,
he said, though his voice lacked strength.
You are still injured. I have been worse. That much Elira believed. As the day passed, Kalen learned the limits of his body.
He could stand only briefly. Each movement drained him. Elira prepared simple food and insisted he eat. He obeyed without complaint, though he watched her closely.
You should rest,
he said at one point. She smiled faintly. So should you. He studied her face.
You are ill.
Yes. For how long?
Long enough.
Outside, the forest remained still. Too still. No birds, no wind. Elira felt it even as she worked, a pressure, like the air was listening. By afternoon, Kalen spoke again.
There are people looking for me.
Elira's hands paused.
What kind of people? Powerful ones.
She met his eyes.
You bring danger to my door. I did not choose to. She believed him. Why run? She asked.
Kalen looked toward his child. Because staying would have destroyed him. That was all he said. As evening fell, a knock came at the door. Elira stiffened.
No one visited her cottage. Ever.
Kalen moved instinctively, reaching for a weapon that was no longer there. The child's grip tightened on Elira's sleeve. Elira stepped forward and opened the door. A man stood outside, cloaked in dark blue, his boots clean despite the snow. His eyes were sharp, his posture controlled. He bowed low.
My lord,
he said, looking past Elira.
Kalen went still.
The word echoed in the small space. Elira turned slowly. My lord? she repeated. The man looked confused. You did not know? Elira felt something shift inside her, not fear, but distance. She had treated him as an equal.
As a man in need, you are nobility, she said quietly. Something like that, Kalen replied. The messenger knelt. Your lands are in unrest. The council waits.
The child is safe, Kalen said sharply. The man hesitated.
The curse worsens!
Elira's breath caught.
Kalen stood, ignoring his weakness. Leave! My lord, leave! Kalen repeated.
The man bowed again and disappeared into the snow. Silence followed. Elira moved away from Kalen, wrapping her shawl tighter.
You should go, she said. I cannot protect you from kings. Kalen looked at her.
I do not want protection.
I want time. For what? To understand why the curse weakens when you are near. What do you mean? Kalen's voice lowered. My family has carried this darkness for generations. Gold, land, power. All paid for with it. Nothing has ever eased it.
Until now? He nodded. The child spoke softly.
She hurts because she holds it already. Elira's knees weakened. She sat heavily on the bench.
Memories surfaced. Dreams of chains, fire and women, standing in circles, whispering vows. She had always believed them to be nightmares.
Kalen knelt before her. What are you? I am a widow who should have died years ago. Kalen understood too much in that moment. Night fell again.
The fire burned low. Outside, shadows moved among the trees.
The curse felt closer now, angry. Far away, bells rang in a distant city.
The throne was calling its lord home. Kalen looked at Elira, torn between duty and something far more dangerous. The fire burned low, casting long shadows on the stone walls. Elira sat near the hearth, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her breathing was uneven. Each breath felt like a quiet battle she had to win again and again. Kalen stood near the door, restless. Since the messenger had left, silence had filled the space between them. It was not peaceful silence. It was the kind that pressed down, demanding truth. Outside, the forest whispered. The child, Leor, slept near the fire, his face calm, unaware of the weight resting on the adults around him. From time to time, faint light flickered around him like a soft shield. Elira noticed it. Kalen noticed it too. He has never shown signs like this before, Kalen said quietly. Elira did not answer at once. Maybe he feels safe, she said at last. Kalen looked at her. Safety has never existed in my world. Then perhaps your world is the problem. He almost smiled at that, but the moment passed. Kalen moved closer to the fire, lowering himself carefully onto a stool. Pain crossed his face, but he ignored it. The curse is bound to my blood and my crown, he said. It feeds on fear, duty, and sacrifice. Elira closed her eyes. The word sacrifice echoed too loudly inside her. When I was a child, Kalen continued, I was told power had a price. I believed it was land, gold, loyalty. I was wrong. Elira opened her eyes. What does it take? People, he said simply. Hope. Love. Elira's chest tightened. She stood and walked toward the small table, steadying herself. Then why keep it? She asked. Why not walk away? Kalen looked toward Leor. Because if I do, the curse will take him. Elira turned back slowly. And if you stay, then it will take someone else. She understood now. The sickness in her body was not random. The strange dreams, the strength she felt only when helping others. Her life had been shaped toward this moment long before she met Kalen.
You believe it will take me. she said.
Kaelin did not answer. That was answer enough.
I will not allow it.
He said after a long moment. Alira gave a sad smile. You may not have a choice. Before he could reply, the cottage shook. The fire flared bright, burning without wood. Shadows stretched unnaturally long. The air turned cold, sharp enough to sting. Lior stirred, sitting up suddenly. His eyes glowed faintly.
It is awake, he whispered. The door burst open.
Wind rushed in, carrying black mist that twisted like living smoke. It did not touch the child. It moved toward Kaelin and Alira, circling them slowly. Kaelin stood, placing himself between the mist and Alira.
No, she said firmly, stepping beside him instead.
The mist spoke, not with words, but with weight. Images filled the room.
Thrones of gold, cities bowing, fields burning, kings kneeling in fear. Then another image followed. Elira, pale and still, lying beneath a stone sky.
Her breath caught. The offer, the mist pressed closer. A voice echoed inside his mind, cold and calm.
Rule, and all is preserved.
Kaelin clenched his fists. I do not want this. Elira stepped forward. Stop, she said, though her voice shook.
You do not own us.
The mist paused. It turned toward her, curious. Kaelin felt it then, the pull toward Alira, stronger than before. The curse recognized her.
Not as prey, but as balance. The mist retreated suddenly, pulling back through the door.
The fire returned to normal. Silence followed. Alira collapsed. Kaelin caught her before she hit the floor. Her body was light, too light. Her breathing was shallow.
Why does it respond to you?
Kaelin whispered desperately. Alira opened her eyes. Because I was made for it, she said weakly. Memories flooded her mind. Women standing in circles, choosing duty over life, sealing darkness so others could live. Her blood carried their promise. I am not meant to survive, she said. Kaelin shook his head. No.
You must listen,
she said, gripping his sleeve with sudden strength.
If the curse takes me, it ends with me,
he asked. Yes, the words broke him. I will not trade your life for his, Kaelin said. I will not be that kind of king. You already are a better one than you think. Days passed after that night. Alira grew weaker. Kaelin refused to leave her side. He cooked, cleaned, and watched over her, learning a life without servants or command. Each small act humbled him. Lior followed Alira everywhere, holding her hand, his light growing stronger as hers faded. One evening, Alira called Kaelin to her side. You must decide, she said softly.
The throne or freedom! The curse will not wait!
Kaelin looked at the woman who had saved his child, who had shown him a world beyond power.
I choose you,
he said. Alira closed her eyes.
That choice will cost you everything.
I know. Far away, the capital trembled. The council gathered.
The crown pulsed with dark hunger. The curse had sensed Kaelin's defiance. It was coming. Elira reached for Kaelin's hand, her grip weak but certain.
Promise me one thing, she said. What? Do not let Lior become what you were forced to be.
Kaelin nodded, tears burning his eyes. Outside, the forest bent under an unseen wind. The final hour approached. Alira lay still on a bed of rough linen. Her skin was pale as the snow outside, and her breath came in shallow whispers. The sickness inside her was no longer hidden. It had grown stronger with each passing day. She felt the curse pulling at her soul, demanding its final payment. Kaelin sat by her side, holding her hand tightly. His eyes, once sharp and proud, were now filled with fear and sorrow. He had watched the woman who had saved his son and his life slowly fade before him. Now the time had come to face the impossible. Outside the cottage, the forest held its breath. The curse stirred in the dark places, ready to claim what it believed was owed. Kaelin looked down at Lior, who was asleep on a blanket near the fire. The child's faint glow flickered softly, a light born from the very magic that tied their fates together. This light was fragile but alive, and it must be protected at all costs. Elira's weak voice broke the silence.
Kaelin, the curse can be broken, but it will not be easy.
He squeezed her hand.
Tell me what to do.
She tried to sit up but winced in pain. Kaelin helped her gently. She looked into his eyes, her own filled with strength even as her body failed. Long ago, she said, our bloodlines were cursed. Your family's power grew from dark magic. Contracts made with forces beyond understanding.
And my own family, we were chosen to hold the curse inside us, to keep it from spreading.
Kaelin nodded slowly.
So, you were the seal? But the seal is breaking! The curse hungers for a sacrifice!
He swallowed hard.
You? Elira nodded. I thought I would die, but now I feel something else. Kaelin's brow furrowed. What?
If I accept the curse, it will consume me. But if I fight it, I may be able to change it.
Death to the turncoat. Kaelin stared at her, hope and fear mixing in his gaze. Then fight. I will stand with you.
The fire crackled softly as the first rays of sun kissed the window. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying voices from the past, warnings and prayers.
Elira closed her eyes, drawing strength from memories she barely understood. Faces of women she had never met, standing together, holding light in darkness. The promise of change.
Suddenly, the door creaked open. A figure stepped inside, a tall woman dressed in flowing robes, her eyes bright with wisdom and sorrow. Elira, the woman said softly, I am here to help. The woman moved to Elira's side and placed a hand gently on her forehead.
The curse is old magic, but it can be rewritten.
Elira's breathing eased.
How?
Kaelin asked urgently.
The curse feeds on pain and sacrifice. To break it, Elira must face it not as a victim, but as a queen of her own fate. She must take the curse into herself, not to die, but to transform.
Elira opened her eyes, meeting Kaelin's gaze.
I am ready.
Kaelin took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. The woman began to chant softly, ancient words filled with power and hope. Elira's body glowed with a faint light that grew brighter and warmer. The sickness inside her began to fade, replaced by strength. The curse fought back. Shadows twisted and writhed around the cottage.
The air grew cold and heavy. Kaelin stood firm, shielding Lior and the woman with all his might.
Elira's voice rang out clear and strong.
I am not your victim. I am your end.
Light burst from her hands, pushing the darkness away. The curse screamed, its power breaking apart like shattered glass. When the light faded, Elira was changed. No longer pale and weak, she sat tall and radiant. Her eyes shone with new fire, fierce and calm. Kaelin reached for her, tears of relief and love streaming down his face.
You did it, he whispered.
Elira smiled.
We did it. Lior awoke, his light stronger than ever. He looked at his parents, hope shining in his eyes.
Together they stood, no longer bound by curses or crowns, free to choose their own path. The woman bowed to them and vanished into the morning light. Kaelin took Elira's hand, feeling a new kind of power, not from gold or thrones, but from love and courage. The ruined kingdom outside the forest began to heal. The curse lifted like a dark cloud. As they stepped outside, the sun warmed their faces. Elira looked at Kaelin, her voice soft but sure. We are more than our past.
And together we are stronger than any curse. Their journey was far from over, but for the first time, hope was real. The dying widow had saved a father and child. not knowing she was the key to a new dawn.